Okay, so this is the next video uh, related to the DP-900 exam. So this is one also the practice test. So let's begin the test. Okay, so you need to design and model a database by using a graphical tool that support project-oriented offline database development. So you have to basically design and model a database, but using the graphical tools only, right? So out of these four options, like which option is the correct answer? So Databricks is the wrong, right? So the correct answer is basically Microsoft SQL Server data tool. So this data tools like provide is the graphical tool. Which one of the following statement is a benefit of using platform as a service instead of an on-premises service? So okay, what is the benefit if we use our like any service as a platform as a service rather than the on-premise system? So the benefit is that it will increase the scalability. It will increase the functionality. No, functionality will remain same. Increase day-to-day management cost. No, even on the cloud the cost will will be less, but the scalability will be increased. Which of the following service should you use to implement a non-relational database? So the non-relational database is the Cosmos DB. Which one of the following role is not a data job role? So data analyst related to the database administrator is related to the data, system administrator is not related to the data. Dash API of Cosmos DB can be used to work with data that in the form of edges and vertices. So edges and vertices like makes a graph, and for the graph we will use a Gremlin API. What is a security principle? So a set of resources managed by a service. No. An object that represent a user group, service or managed identity that is requesting access to Azure resources. So whatever the object, whether it is a user, whether it is a group, whether it is a service, or whether it is any managed identity, whoever is requesting the access to the Azure resource is covered under the security principle. What is the common flow of activity in Power BI? So what we actually do in the Power BI? So in the Power BI, we will bring the data into the Power BI desktop and then create the report. So they are saying first we create a report in the Power BI mobile. No, create a report in the Power BI service, share it to the Power BI mobile, interact with the Power BI desktop. Wrong. Bring the data into Power BI mobile. Wrong. So bring data into Power BI desktop, create a report, share, and then interact, and then like dashboard can be shared over the like a Power BI mobile as well. Which among the following statement is true with respect to the Azure SQL database? Okay, so Azure SQL database allows independent provisioning of throughput and storage. Correct. Azure SQL database interacts fully managed backup. Yeah, backups are fully managed. Azure SQL database fully compatible with Microsoft SQL Server. No. Azure SQL database has built-in high availability. Yes, correct, because it is a platform as a service. Which of the following Azure service use the SMB 3.0 protocol? So this is one of the protocols. So the answer is the file storage. At which levels can you set the throughput for the Azure Cosmos DB account? So we can set this throughput like on the database and the container level. Okay, you have stored ALDC in text format. You need to load the data in Azure Synapse Analytics in a table in one of the databases. So we will use the Polybase, because Polybase is a you can say tool which can interact with the multiple data. Okay, so we have given this graph, and there are two blue boxes. So we have to tell like okay, what is the correct option come into these two blue boxes out of these four. So these are the logs, structured data, unstructured data. So it will ingested. So which tool will ingest? So the answer is the uh, Azure Data Factory. Alright, so Azure Data Factory will ingest, and then it will get stored into the storage, and then which tool will process? So the process will be Azure Synapse Analytics will process the data. So once it get processed, it will get like available for the online analytics purpose, and then for the reporting purpose. So this question, like, read the question properly. Alter command is not an example. So it is an active based question. Here it is a not an example of the DDL. Alter is the example of DDL. So update is also drop is also the DDL. Create is also the DDL. So update is not an example of DDL. Okay, so the question is analytics question. So what will happen? So what will happen is basically we are predicting the future. So it comes under the predictive analytics. What is the primary purpose of an index? So why we usually use the index? So that the queries will get speed up. So to speed up the select query, we use the index. You have a large amount of data that held in files in Azure Data Lake storage. You want to retrieve the data in these files and use it to populate tables in the Azure Synapse Analytics. Okay, so you can use the Polybase, and it is a part of the Synapse SQL pool. You have a transactional application and store data in an Azure SQL managed instance. When should you implement the read-only database replica? So they are saying that we have the data in the Azure SQL managed instance. So we have to create one more replica, and we want it to read-only database. So when we want to implement this, so out of these options, so this is the correct option. You need to generate reports without affecting the transaction workload. So let's suppose we will create a two replica, one replica and the another replica. In first replica, read write operation is performing because the actual customer is doing the transaction. But for our own purpose, if we have to generate the reports, if we that is, we have to read the data to generate the reports. So if we use the same instance, then the end customer will be get impacted because there will be more load on the particular instance. So that's why we will create a one more database replica, and that is just a read-only replica. So if we create a replica, then that second replica will not be in use by the end customer. We will only use just to create the reports. Okay, which type of database workload is a type of a deep analytics? So for the analytics, we will use the online analytics platform, OLAP. Okay, data in the relational table organized in the rows and columns. Okay, when ingesting data from Azure data storage across Azure region, you will incur cost for bandwidth. So correct. You can use blob, table, queue, file storage in the same Azure account, storage account. You are definitely correct. So we can create one storage account, and within the same storage account, we can create like any storage service. So you implement Azure Data Lake storage by creating an Azure storage account. So that is also correct. So all the three options are correct. Okay, ARM, that is the Azure Resource Manager template, use XML format. No, it's use the JSON format. Okay, you need to ensure that the user use multi-factor authentication when connected to the Azure SQL database. So what type of authentication should? So multi-factor authentication can be implemented using the Azure Active Directory. So the messy parallel processing engine of Azure Synapse Analytics distribute processing across compute nodes. So that is correct. So no change needed. So it is doing the parallel processing. So parallel processing means it will distribute the work across the compute nodes. If you set up your SQL database networking with public endpoint without any other action, so which type of user can connect to the database? No user, because we have to set up a firewall, and within the firewall, and we have to tell the ingress and the egress, like who can all access, who all doesn't access. But they are saying that we have just set up a database but without any further actions. Azure Databricks is an Apache-based collaborative analytics platform. True. Azure Analysis service is used for transactional workload, so that is totally wrong. It is for the analysis workload, not the transaction. Azure Data Factory is a data ingestion tool, so that is true. So this is true, and this is also true. Okay, so we have given two tables. So which type of data store should you use? So these are the column data, so we will use the columnar. Okay, so we have given one structure that is basically a data model in which customer table, product table, sales table. So this database model is a type of transaction model, star schema, Snowflake. a Snowflake schema. So it is a type of a Snowflake schema. A Snowflake schema is a type of a star based structure only. So you can say the dot and then we have the connecting points. It's a called as like star based only, but we generally call it as a Snowflake schema. It is a type of a star based. You need to query a table named products in an Azure SQL database. What requirement should you met? Okay. Uh, so we have to, there is a table in the Azure SQL database and we have to run a query. So what all actions we need. So your IP address must be allowed. That is definitely correct, because when we set up a database, we have to set up a firewall, and that IP address should be passed through that particular firewall. So it should connect to the database. You must assign the reader role, so that is totally wrong. You must have a user in the database, so that is correct. You must have a select access, that is also correct. You must be assigned the contributor role, so we don't need the contributor role, we just need to do a query, so we just need the select access. So these three options are correct. You must apply patches to the Azure SQL database, so that is totally wrong, because like Azure SQL database is like a platform as a service, so we don't need to apply the patches. You need Microsoft 365 subscription? No. You can use existing Microsoft SQL Server license to reduce the cost. That is correct. Okay, so what is true in respect to the ETL process? So ETL is extract, then transform, and then load. So ETL process like has very high load time, because like it will first extract the data and it will then transform and then load the data. So it will like take a lot of time. Okay, your department of your company is managing the relational tables in a database of all departments. Each department must only see limited number of columns. So what should we do? So we will create a view. So let's suppose we have multiple tables and we want, okay, like department see only like this particular columns. So we can create a view. So next question. Okay, so this is the type of again analytics, basically definitions. So we know diagnostic analytics the definition of diagnostic analytics, like when we have to do why these things like happening, so we have to basically do the diagnostic. And predictive means what will happen, and descriptive means what happened in the past, and cognitive means like when we draw the inferences. So if we read option number one, what has happened, that is correct. Why things happened, and prescriptive like what should be taken to achieve the goal, so that is correct. So option A looks okay, so rest doesn't look okay. So what are the elements of the Azure table storage key? Okay, for the table we have the partition key and the row key, because like in the table the data is stored in the form of row, so there is a row key and there is a partition. So like the table can divide into the partition, so a few set of row come into the one partition and another set of rows come into the another partition, so there is a partition key as well. Which of these service can be used to ingest data into the Azure Synapse Analytics? So Azure Data Factory. Okay, Microsoft Power BI dashboard is associated with a single workspace. That is correct. Microsoft Power BI dashboard can only display visualization from a single data set. No. Microsoft Power BI dashboard can display visualization from the Microsoft Excel workbook. That is correct. So this is totally correct. Okay, dash is an example of unstructured data. So audio and the video files are the example of the unstructured data. Okay, so the bank needs to process the data every month to calculate payroll. So it is a type of batch data. Okay, so Cosmos DB has a multi API programming model. Which among the following is suitable for the contact tracing of COVID-19 patient? So contact tracing means we have to like trace the patients, or it is a kind of a like a graph. So for the graphs we will use a Gremlin API. Okay, so dash support role based RBAC, that is the role based access control or at the file and the folder level. So maybe data lake storage, I'm not sure. What is the good example of the paginated report? So paginated report is those report like which can fit on the particular page and we can print it. So it's a kind of an invoice. Okay, descriptive analytics tell you like what happened in the past, what occurred in the past. Okay, which Azure SQL offering supports automatic database scaling and automatic pausing of the database during inactive periods. Okay, so it is like when the serverless, because when it is a serverless, we don't need to take care of the like scaling and everything. Okay, what should I do? So it's come under the prescriptive. Which one of the following statement is the characteristic of a relational database? Okay, different rows in the same table can contain different columns. Totally wrong. A row in a table represents a single entity. Correct. A data must be stored as a character strings. So no. Okay, dash are the elements of the Azure table storage key. So for the table, there is a partition and the row key are the key elements. So let's see if any question. So all questions are correct. So thank you.